Hi, I'm Luke.
I'm Jed.
I'm Adam.
And I'm Gethin.
We are the Struts, and you're watching live in Limbo.
I'm Shannon from Live in Limbo, and we're sitting here with the Struts. How are you guys doing today?
Really well, thank you.
Oh, wonderful. I'm wonderful, here, living life. Are you guys excited to play in Toronto tonight?
Yeah, we are. I think this is the second time we've done a headline show, and it's really cool. The first venue we did was a lot smaller, and it's really nice to sort of come back, I guess it's almost like a year later, and be playing here, which is really lovely and grand. And I think the room suits us as well. It loves us.
Yes, it has a nice aura to it. It looks like an opera house,
Yeah,
it's
funny.
Hence the name.
It does, yeah.
I was going to say, last time you guys were here, you played Adelaide, which is about a 250 capacity, and now you're playing to about 1,000 capacity. So you're tripling. And I think really that is kind of shows how well of it, a good of a year you guys have had, really, eh?
Yeah, well, our agent's really happy. But I think, no, it's good. It's nice to feel like all of the hard work and the constant moving, is actually paying off, which is great, which is what it's all about.
All right, so listening to your music off of my first impression of it, you guys are kind of like a bygone era. That's what I listen when I hear it, and even your presentation of all of that. So when you guys were forming the band, where did you kind of draw your influences from?
Everything really that kind of musically turned us on, very, very Queen-led, Stones, and a lot of kind of glam stuff that happened in the 70s in the UK as well. That's kind of it really, but the influence are constantly sort of in rotation, as it were. There's some times where you go through a musical phase and it lasts for up to kind of a month, and then you go on to something else, and that kind of comes out in the writing as well. So anything really, but predominantly, the latter really.
Music's always evolving. So you guys have opened up for some pretty huge bands, including the Stones and Motley Crue. Do you have any shows in particular that are super memorable for you?
I think probably collectively it was the Stones one really. That was it was over 2 years ago, and it's done so much for us. Every interview we do, everyone wants to know what it was like. And that's for a reason. It's because they are the biggest band in the world at the moment, and have been for such a long time, and have been a massive influence, on us. And I think just to get to see them live, was one of the biggest treats of the day, really. It was great.
Yeah, and you got to be there to perform for it. So I'm going to ask you guys a question here. So I like surfing through YouTube comments when I'm watching. I was watching one of your videos, and a lot of the comments kind of are the only true rock and roll band left. I see lots of that stuff, and lots of people say rock and roll is dead in a sense. What's your opinion on it being a rock and roll band that's influenced from some of the greatest bands of all time?
Who wants to take the answer to that one?
A lot of people ask is it a throwback band? Are you kind of trying to recreate what once existed? But I think collectively we're all channeling our own influences and doing the music that we want to do. Mm-hmm. And it's connecting with a lot of people that are kind of hearing this, younger people that are hearing it for the first time because they've not listened to these older bands. And then their parents and even grandparents sometimes, because for them it's what they grow up on. Mm-hmm. And it's amazing to see how it connects with so many different ages. But as I said, we're kind of really just doing the music that we love. There's not really actually that much thought in terms of how as long as we're writing good songs, that's the only thing that's important.
Yeah, that's good. Like you said, when I first time I heard you guys, the first thing I did is I texted my dad, and I was like, you have to listen to this band, because my dad and I have very, very similar music tastes. And he was like, I love it. It reminded him of the stuff he would have listened to growing up on. So that's pretty cool.
Thank you. Good old dad.
Yeah, good old dad. Dad's no best, eh? So you guys re-released your first album with 5 new songs on it, which is kind of an interesting thing to do. Why did you choose to re-release it instead of just kind of saving up and making a second album out of it?
It wasn't really our choice, so to speak. We released it in the UK, and nothing really happened and whatnot. But when we signed with Interscope, we had one of our songs could have been me taken to the radio before that deal had even really sort of begun. So already, like, the music from the first album was all of a sudden like connecting in the States to very begin with. So that kind of influenced the idea of, not just the management and the label and us included as well, that, there is still a lot of life left in these songs, and they really need to be heard by the masses, and they need to be given a proper chance. So, we took the best of what was on the first release, and then we decided to go back into the studio and just to create some fresh music as well, just really for ourselves, because we thought at that point we could probably top a lot of the stuff that had already been previously recorded. So we actually had a bizarre experience of going back to it and going, oh my god, like, we're actually gonna get to re-release like a debut again, which is a really rare thing. But I think overall we managed to create an even stronger album. Like, we had like the artwork, and it was just done properly. It was a really refreshing experience.
Yeah, so you guys got to kind of like do like a trip around the block after releasing a debut album, go back with all your experience and release a debut album again.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. So you guys are also kind of known for your live show and being like a good live band, which is a good thing to have. Do you guys have like a trademark thing that makes your live show different than everything else that's out there?
Yeah. Him.
Well, I'd say, looking inwards, if I was to sort of like step out of it, I guess my performance as an individual is one of the things that does, separate us from a lot of bands.
I think it's unique in this to have just a front man without playing an instrument that has that classic frontman quality.
Yeah, and
rare.
I'm coming from the school of the classic kind of approach to what a frontman does and actually how it operates the live performance. But it's not, it really isn't just that. I mean, like, all the way down to like the aesthetic of the lighting and even like the colors that we use. There's some colors that we use which a lot of bands wouldn't be seen dead on stage using, because they just don't have the balls to do it. But we're very like, no, it has to be multicolored and it has to be like very big, outrageous. We approach the songs from the album differently when we do them live as well, because we want to create a different experience. We don't want, like so many bands do. You go and watch them now, and they're great, whatever. But you might as well just press play and watch it and listen. There's no difference. So whether it's the endings, the intros, we try and conjure up like medleys as well, where we're mixing different things. Just try and approach it as like an actual show, really, which is, I think, something like the idea of a concept album as well has kind of gone out the window. So has the idea of an actual performance instead of just playing live.
Yeah, it makes sense. Kind of like going to like the theater or something like that.
Giving them money's worth,
Yeah, like I don't know if you've ever seen Taylor Swift, but it's like you actually go and you're seeing like a show.
Well, I think that's a very good point. I think the only people that really give as much attention or come close, well, actually, no, they obviously do on a bigger scale, but there are the big pop acts. Yeah. Even if it's someone like Nicki Minaj, for example, like, you know, they put on shows. They have like outfit changes. You know, you go and watch Beyonce. It's like they have all the great backing dancers. The band's shit hot. The set looks incredible. The lights are great. They're there to entertain people, you know. And there's so many bands who are just so safe and boring, and you know, let's go on stage and perform in the same clothes that I woke up with. You know, it's not cool. Don't do that.
Yeah, no one wants to see a band that's just kind of like, as an audience member, you want to be engaged and you want to feel connected, and you walk away from the shows and you want to be like, wow, you know. So I always like to end it asking, like, who are you guys listening to right now? Who are the artists that you're kind of are standing out to you right now?
Well, since the 1975 second album came out, I've kind of paid a lot more attention. That there was this track, the leading one called "Love Me." The original riff reminded me of a Rage Against the Machine song called "People of the Sun," and that automatically like dragged me in. And then from that, I started to like listen to the lyrical content, and I thought the production actually was really just very bold, charismatic, like everything that I like in a band. You know, you have to take chances. So that has been really good.
Is that band you introduced us recently?
Oh yeah, there's the Lemon Twigs as well, who a friend, well actually a really lovely fan who draws a great fan art of us. She likes a lot of the bands that I like as well. Like there's a band called Temples, which she also loves. And she drew a picture of them. So I was like, oh, who are these guys? Because I know she has great taste. And yeah, they're brilliant. They're a two-piece. Well, they actually have, I think it's a four-piece, but it's made up of two brothers, both great musicians who take it in turns to like sing lead, who are also both great drummers as well. And it's a mixture between like the Beach Boys and sort of like Magical Mystery Tour era, like Beatles, you know. The piano sounds very like Hey Bulldog, you know, and stuff like that. So I've been listening to that album a lot. It's really cool.
Nice, cool. Okay, it was so nice sitting down with you guys tonight. Good luck with your show.
Thank you very much.
Thank you.